Good morning. I've got a pretty good shot of the moon here going across as it's headed down, making a beautiful cast on the water. I spend a lot of time chasing the sun. I thought today we'll have some moon. Okay, we begin with chapter 8. Underscore your no. The stronger the breeze, the stronger the trees. An old proverb. The year was 1930. The place, India. A seemingly frail old man without position or conventional power decided to challenge the greatest empire the world had ever known. Colonial domination had lasted for 4 centuries, and it had to end. Countless petitions saying no to injustice had gone unheard. It was time to use power. Plan B. But how? The old man ruminated for a long time about the right method. Finally, a strategy came to him. The empire's dominion over India was supported by a tax on salt, a tax even the poorest, starving people had to pay if they were to survive. No one was allowed to make salt, even for personal consumption. The old man decided he would break this unjust law by marching to the sea and making salt from the sea water. When the old man announced his project to his political colleagues, many wondered whether he had taken leave of his senses. He was going to challenge the empire by making a handful of salt? The old man then sent a letter to the imperial authorities explaining his no to the salt law, asking them to rescind it, and announcing that what he would do if they did not. Oh, the officials laughed. Who would pay any attention to such a demonstration? The best way to respond, they decided, was not to arrest him, but to let him go ahead and make a fool of himself. The old man left his home and set out with his walking stick and 80 companions to walk to the sea, 240 miles away. As he progressed along his journey, day by day, thousands joined him. By the time he reached the sea and made salt, the eyes of all India were on him, and the world was watching. As the news spread over India, hundreds of thousands began to make and consume the illegal salt. The imperial authorities soon decided they had no choice but to jail the old man in order to stop the rebellion. It did not work. Within a few months, the jails of India were teeming with over 100,000 protesters. The country came to a virtual standstill. The imperial authorities were no longer laughing. Within a few months, the authorities relented and released the old man. To universal surprise, the viceroy, the king's representative, sat down on equal terms with an Indian and negotiated an agreement. They agreed that people living on the coast could make their own salt without tax. It was the beginning of the end of the empire. The old man, of course, was Mahatma Gandhi. No one knew better than he how to deliver a positive no. Gandhi knew the paradoxical secret of saying no effectively. A powerful no draws on a deep yes, a life affirming yes. Salt is a primal necessity, a symbol of life itself. What Gandhi did was to affirm life by making salt from the waters of the sea, as humans had done for millennia. In doing so, of course, Gandhi drew attention to the oppressive rule of the empire and to the taxation that burdened the backs of the poorest of the poor in order to support perhaps the richest and most extravagant colonial administration on earth. His positive action was a loud and clear no, understood by the Indian people and the imperial authorities alike. Year after year, Gandhi patiently and relentlessly persisted, underscoring his no with positive power until the empire eventually withdrew. I love that story. Love that story. The next one is underscore your no with positive power. If the other refuses to respect your no, you may see only two choices: submission and outright war. Yet there is a third choice, highlighted by Gandhi. To underscore your positive no, don't overreact. Underscore. To underscore means to emphasize patiently and persistently that no, in fact, means no. It means continuing to stand up for what is important to you without destroying the possibility of a deal or healthy relationship. It means using positive power, which, as you may remember, is the power of a positive intention backed up by Plan B. The moon is just outstanding. Okay, sorry. Although it is good to remind yourself that you have a Plan B, resorting to it may be costly to you and can strain your relationship with the other. Therefore, it is wise to use a graduated approach. The best general is the one who never fights, wrote the ancient Chinese military strategist Sun Tzu. Sun Tzu. Oh my God. Early morning and cold. I can't explain what happens. It is preferable if the other comes to their senses before you actually have to exercise your Plan B. So first, repeat your no to the other as often as necessary. If that does not work, educate the other about the consequences of not respecting your no. If this does not work, then deploy your Plan B. Next is repeat your no. The other may not want to hear your no. They may be in denial or in shock. They may pretend they did not hear you, or that they forgot what you said. Even if they hear you, they may prefer to act as if you had not said no. Sometimes you need to say no, not just once, but repeatedly, until the other gets the message. Be consistent and persistent. Consider the challenge faced by my old friend Emily Wilson, long-time housekeeper for the family of the celebrated economist John Kenneth Galbraith. When President Lyndon Johnson called one day looking for the professor, "Is Galbraith there?" "He's taken a nap and has left strict orders not to be disturbed." "Well, I'm the president. Wake him up." "I am sorry, Mr. President, but I work for Mr. Galbraith, not for you." And she hung up. When Galbraith called back after his nap, Johnson told him, "Who is that woman? I want her working for me." Emily may have been diminutive in physical stature, but she was outsized in her willingness to stand her ground. She understood how to sustain her nose. Emily knew it is essential to be consistent and to sustain your no in the face of the other's attempts to get you to give in and accommodate. Take a business example in which a manager had to keep saying no to his boss's continual pressure to fire one of his employees, Patricia. "I was convinced she was the right person for the company," recalled Robert, "just in the wrong role. So I planned to move her into a position with more customer contact. But still, Ron, the boss, kept pressuring me with a steady drip, drip, drip of pointed remarks." One night, during our annual budget meeting, a group of us were out at dinner. Ron came up to our table and said to me, "I hope you're prepared to make the tough decision about Patricia." I decided to clear the air a bit. "I am prepared to make the tough decision. Are you prepared for it to not be the decision that you want?" In my mind, the tough decision was working with Patricia for her to succeed, not letting her go. Ron didn't let it up. "Well, think about it," he replied. I stuck to my guns. "I'm thinking about using her elsewhere." Again, he replied, "Well, just think about it." I went ahead and moved Patricia into her new role, where she just blossomed and is now doing a stellar job. One evening, about a year later, Ron came up to me at a banquet dinner and said, "That was the right thing to do with Patricia. I'm glad we saved her." Persistence pays. What makes it easier to sustain your no is that you are actually sustaining your yes. In this case, Robert's yes was to giving his people a chance to succeed and thus make the business succeed. Remembering your yes gives you strength and endurance. A generation ago, hostage situations in the United States were often handled by violent methods. The police would pull out a bullhorn and give the hostage taker 5 minutes to come out with his hands up. If not, tear gas would be thrown in and the police would charge, guns blazing. All too often, people were killed. The hostages, the hostage taker, and even the police. Just think of the tragedy at Waco, Texas, in 1993, where more than 70 people died, including 12 children under the age of 5. Over time, police departments have learned more effective ways of saying no to hostage takers, while they prepare a plan B usually a SWAT team that takes up position in case force is needed. The method used in the overwhelming majority of incidents is quiet, patient, persistent negotiation. Much of this negotiation involves saying no firmly and respectfully over and over again. Below is a snippet of a dialogue from one such hostage negotiation in New York City. As the TV announcer described the situation, cops say a man armed with a gun has barricaded himself in a house and is holding a 10-year-old boy, possibly his nephew, as a hostage. George, the hostage taker, was demanding to speak with his estranged wife, Annabelle, but she was scared senseless, and the police decided to say no. George says, "Because I can't live with this anymore, without talking to Annabelle." Detective, "You're not going to talk to Annabelle." George, "So we're going to be here for a long, long time." Detective, "Yep, we're going to be here forever now." George, "I'm not going to jail?" Detective, "Nobody goes to jail for a gun in Brooklyn. You know that, and I know that. I don't want to talk about this jail thing again. I told you over and over you're not going to go. Even if you go to court, it's probation. And I don't want to talk about Annabelle again because you know my answer when you talk about Annabelle. Because I want you to be okay. I want Jose, the hostage, the young boy, to be okay. I don't want nobody to get hurt here." George says, "Okay." Note the persistently repeated firm no by the detective, as he also made clear his yes to safety for the hostage taker, and everyone else involved. This particular negotiation went on in much this vein for over 11 hours as the hostage taker went through all the classic stages: denial, anxiety about going to jail, anger, and repeated threats to kill himself and the boy, bargaining, and sadness. In the end, thanks to the persistent and respectful positive no from the detective and his colleagues, George finally accepted the no and the accompanying positive proposal to let the boy go. He then threw away his gun as instructed and turned himself in peacefully. For the New York City hostage unit, it was one more hostage situation handled successfully through the exercise of positive power. Well, our wind is kicking up, so I think I'm going to stop here. We've made it to page 195, and yeah, the next page is a little longer. We've only got this little bit of this one. Will be at 209. We'll be done with chapter 8, and then we have chapter 9, and we have finished another book together. I hope you're getting to see that moon. I'm going to try to zoom in. Get my page saved here. 195. Thank you for being with me this morning. It's been an amazing, interesting having to choose the sun or the moon, and what a fun choice to make in case you can't get out there and see it. It is absolutely outstanding this morning. Let me see if I can get in there any closer. Nope. That's our max close friends. Ooh, beautiful. Thank you for listening. I've been reading The Power of a Positive No. We are in Chapter 8. I appreciate you.